Jimmy and Satara, members of our church here, Pastor Ken, if you want to take that. That James chapter 5, 13 through 16, it means that if anyone is suffering, let him pray. Is anyone cheerful, let him sing the psalms. Is anyone among you sick, let him call for the elders of the church and let them pray over him, anointing him with oil in the name of the Lord. And what's the rest of it say in verse 15? And the prayers of faith will save the sick, and the Lord will raise him up, and if he has committed sins, he will what? Be forgiven. So, no matter what's going on in your life, Sarah, the Lord can deliver you with the struggles that you have, whether it's sickness or just harassment in life. The devil's mean, isn't he? He's just mean. Like old Billy Goat. He just ran you from behind, and the next thing you know, you got a bruise. And so it's just not very nice. So Tara, I'm going to ask you to come in the center here, right here, and I'm going to ask you to kneel. And Ken, I'm going to ask you to kneel with me. And then, if any other ordained in the church, if you'd like to come down here, if you're an ordained elder, come on down. Let's go ahead and kneel.
I'd like to say one thing.
Yeah.
The most amazing thing happened to me before the healing. I had been praying every day. It's like my prayers were not being answered. And Helen said, you got to follow James 6. Flash, as quickly as it came, it disappeared. I had no idea what Psalm 86 said. I went and got the Bible. And it talks about 3 things. People who think they pray and their prayers aren't answered. That was me. People who think they need a sign. That was me. And in verse 13, people who have a divided heart in the NIV. That was me. The Lord, that's when I call my fellow colleagues there at prayer, 8 of us together, and the Lord answered our prayer. So, Tara, God will answer our prayers, and our congregation pray with us.
Amen. So I have, Satara asked if I had, or Jimmy, her husband here, asked if I had oil. I said, I actually have some really interesting oil. I have some myrrh from Israel, and it's a little mixed with olive oil, and so, Pastor Ken, I'm going to ask you to have a prayer. While you're praying, I will anoint her, and then I'll have a closing prayer.
Dear Lord, as we humble our hearts today, Father, for Satira and Jimmy, if you're in the midst of us, the Holy Spirit is here. And Father, what you did for me in such a miraculous way, Father, we ask tonight that you show your grace and mercy to Satira. And as we anoint her, Father, with oil, Father, as you have commanded us in the Holy Word, in the prayer of faith, will raise up the sick. So whether it's a physical ailment, Lord, or sometimes the mental problems that we face in life, Lord, we commit her to you tonight. We offer her, Father, as you see fit to her according to your will. Father, all these things we ask in Jesus' name. And we thank you in advance.
Yes.
In Jesus' name. Amen.
Father in heaven, while Pastor Ken was praying, I was administering the oil. The oil is not in itself a healing property, but it is a symbol of your sweet Holy Spirit that we are asking to come into her life. So Sarah she asked for the Holy Spirit to fill her life and heal her surroundings. And Father, we've anointed her now, and I pray that you will bless her, help her to have that faith. Even if it's just the faith of a grain of mustard seed, like a man that brought the son to Jesus when Jesus asked him, do you believe? He said, yes, I believe. And then realized in that moment, he's doing that now. She's been anointed, and she said yes to the Holy Spirit. Fill her now. It's our prayer in Jesus' name. And we all say,
Amen. Amen.
Okay. Amen. Jimmy, let's help you out, brother. Should anoint your knees. Well, there you have it. That's an anointing. We do that we don't do it often enough sometimes, I think. It's a beautiful service, amen? Yeah. Anyway, I always keep that with me. And it's up here on the table. It's myrrh. You remember the myrrh, the frankincense? What did they bring to Jesus? The frankincense and gold and myrrh. So we have myrrh up here. It's really kind of a pleasant smell. It's very light, you know. They're like, oh, they said, welcome to come up here and smell it. It's a nice little oil. And I got that from Israel, so anyway. All right. So Tara, you can go in good faith and know that the Lord has this. Yeah. We've got a big night tonight. Mark of the Beast. Ooh. I'm just going to be set up here. Find the cursor. Here's everything. Oh, thank you, sir. You're a good lad. We're prayed up, about as prayed up as we can be, so we'll get started here. Welcome back again to Adventures in Prophecy. Tonight is the Mark of the Beast. So exciting, exciting stuff. Is that your way? If I put that down, I got to think it might be in your way. We'll put that out of your way. Is that better? Or is that totally in your way? Anyway. So that's one of the things that, you know, I'm looking, that's the thing, I'm looking at the weather. It isn't looking pretty for tomorrow. Yeah. Yeah, well, it's just, yeah. You know, and the thing is, it might be okay. And I just, you know, like I said, these weathermen, right now, I was a little worried about that. Let me just check it again here. I've got a special aviation app here that leaves 1,000 feet off the ground to fly. So you can see, and you want to see up the window. The plane, and I'm capable of flying into that, I'm instrument rated, of course. I'm capable of flying it, and so is the plane. Although I don't know if the trainer is or not. Yeah, I'd have to look. Yeah. It looks like it might be okay here in the afternoon, but in the morning it's not looking good. If it gets to be too late, I won't be able to do it. And then, yeah, tomorrow afternoon. So I don't know. We'll look at it. I'll look at it again before we leave. Remind me at the end of the sermon. I'll look at it one more time because there's going to be another update. The update is just about to happen any second now. If not, we'll put it off to next week. Is that okay? There's an old saying, I'd rather be on the ground wishing I was in the air than in the air wishing I was on the ground. So I'd rather take you up and have you happy that you're flying rather than being in the air wishing you were happy on the ground. So yeah, let's err on the side of safety, shall we? Yeah, I think that's a good thing. I'm going to do an update on it. We'll let that run while I'm preaching here. So, well, we'll just look. That's just one of the planes that we fly. That's our Mooney. It's kind of a fun little plane to fly. It's the world's smallest yet fastest commercial aircraft. It's a complex aircraft. I was going to take that up here, and I may. It depends on if the trainer is. That's kind of a fun aircraft. It's a little tight. It was made by Porsche. Very fast aircraft for a single engine aircraft. So that's us flying it there. Anyway, whoops. Did you see that? Let's reactivate him. There it goes. Oh, one more time, just so you can. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, isn't that cute? So anyway, again, I'm an animal lover, so we want to rescue our animals. So here's a friend of mine from Kenya who gave me this video. Gonna get the little, somebody help him. There we go. Save today. Somehow I challenge the truth of the reality. I don't know how they did that, but that was pretty good. Yeah. Just so you know, you don't have to believe everything that happens here. That's all right.
I really enjoyed one about the extra parts to the car. You know.
Oh, You know, that really resonates well in Russia and the Ukraine where they make that car because that is the communist car. You know, they make that car, and it's just the biggest piece of junk you've ever seen. And you better carry extra parts with you driving down the road. It was the people's car, you know. So that's true. That was a funny one. So anyway, I hope you have seen that we have lifted up Jesus every night. That the meetings that we're talking about is about Jesus. It's about Him as our life giver. Christ is life giver. And when He comes. So Christ our life giver, the beginning at the cross, and when He comes. This morning we looked at the Sabbath. We looked at all the texts that are used. I'm just going to put that. We're not going to go through these tonight. I'm just going to give them to you for review one more time if you want to take a picture with your cell phone. These are the texts in the New Testament that mention the first day of the week. And we went through them in detail this morning. We went through them last night again, but take a picture of them. And you will see, and then you can look them up yourself. You can see that there's no directive to change the commandment from Saturday to Sunday. And I'm fine with the sentiment of the thought, oh, well, the reason we worship on Sunday is because we worship on, the resurrection morning. I'm fine with the thought of that. It sounds sweet, it sounds noble, and it sounds good. The problem I have is it's just not biblical. And if you're going to do something religiously that's not biblical, you got to question yourself, why are you doing it? And if it comes at the cost of breaking a commandment, and you're saying, well, I'm just replacing that commandment with another action. And it's just like, can you apply that logic to any of the other commandments? And the answer is just no. And that's the problem I have, is that people try to apply, you have your Sabbath, I have my Sabbath. Well, it's just like, well, I have the faithfulness to my wife, and you have the faithfulness to your wife. And my idea of what being faithful to my wife is, it might be different than she allows me to go around and be faithful to other wives. And so that doesn't hold water, does it? It just doesn't make sense. Or maybe you have your way of telling the truth, and I have my way of telling the truth. In the Midwest, they have a funny statement. They say, I'm going to tell you the honest truth. And that one always gets me. It's like, oh, there's another kind? What is the honest truth anyway? Well, I guess that's more than the real truth. But, it's just like, you can't have different levels of truth, can you? So when it says, thou shalt not bear false witness, does it mean something different? If you're going to do something different, would you change that? Well, you have the way of not bearing false witness, and I have my way of not bearing false witness. You just can't apply that logically to any of the other 10 commandments. Well, thou shalt not have no other gods before me. Well, you do it this way and I do it that way. Well, no, what does that mean? It just simply means don't worship any other gods. Worship God, the God of heaven. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. Well, that means something different to you than it means to me. Can you apply that logic? Can you do that with any other commandment? Why is the fourth commandment the only one that we're allowed to apply that replacement theology logic to? It doesn't make sense, does it? And see, that's my problem. And if it was biblical, I'd be okay with it. But it's not. It's anti-biblical. Remember, we learned what anti is. What's anti? In place of, instead of. Yeah. It's not against, it's instead of. Now, there's a natural component to be, against. There's a natural component to be anti or in place of. It is against as well, but, it's in place of. So you have your truth, I have my truth. It's instead of truth. And so that's my problem with it. So it's certainly not supported by Scripture, Sunday sacredness. The Sunday sacredness is supported by tradition and tradition alone. Okay. So tonight we're going to look at that didn't actually what I was right, so that's okay. Tonight we're going to look at the mark of the beast, this multiple-headed beast found in Revelation chapter 13. Many have the idea that it's going to be some sort of barcode that's imprinted on your forehead, or maybe a computer chip inserted into your hand. Many have thought throughout the years that they've identified who Mr. 666 is. Back in the Roman times, they discovered that, well, maybe it's Caligula or Nero or Domitian or Muhammad, maybe Napoleon was the beast, Revelation 6:6. Hitler has been identified. Reagan was identified as Mr. 666 himself, and John Paul III, because his name somehow added up to 666. So did Ronald Reagan's. for that matter. In fact, Ronald Reagan's, he had 6 letters in each of his name, and so they say, oh, it's 666. Sometimes the number 666 is derived by counting the letters rather than calculating their value. So Ronald Wilson Reagan, he had 6 letters in each name, added up to 666. Well, if you're going to play the game is called gematria. And gematria isn't played that way. It's usually taking the Roman equivalent value. It's a game that the Roman soldiers would play. So they would take their Roman names, whatever their Roman name was, and they would equate a value to it. Now remember your Roman numerals, a V is what? A V is 5, an I is 1, a C, what's C? Do you remember? 100, yeah. So, you would take those different letters and you would see if there was any value to them, and you would, in catacombs in Rome, I remember reading some of the graffiti that said the Roman soldiers would go there. So I love her whose name ends up the fused gematria as an identification mark to mark who the beast is. And by the way, that's what it is. It's just an identification mark, like identification mark than a dollar bill or a $5 bill or a $20 bill, $100 bill. There's different identification marks to help you identify what the real is. Am I right? So you can't have one without the other 8 or 10 identification marks. In fact, tonight, if you look at the lessons, if you didn't get the lessons, did everybody get a lesson tonight? Those that came in early probably did. Maybe we could ask Helen and Maggie if you'd be willing to you'll get it okay. Yeah, they're busy talking back there. If we could get the lessons handed out, you will see there's about, well, I tried to get 13 identification marks, but there's about 11 major identification marks who the beast is. Now, if you can identify who the beast is, then you can naturally identify who and what his mark is. So by using the identification marks laid out in the Bible, we will identify the beast power of Revelation 13. And don't be surprised if the beast power of Revelation 13 goes hand in hand with the little horn or the Antichrist of Daniel chapter 7. It might be that they're one and the same. In fact, I'm going to suggest that they're. And I think you'll see as we go through the identification marks of Mr. 666, you will see that they all add up. Now, the Left Behind series has popularized the notion that the mark of the beast is some kind of a biochip implanted in the hand or in the temple or something like that. Well, I don't know. They may use that to implant a economic boycott device, which it's not going to really matter. We are almost past the technology of needing a biochip, to be honest with you. They're still doing it, but honestly, they have figured out ways that, those of you in medicine, they hook up electrodes to you, you have the electrocardiogram and you get that. Everybody is going to, if you hook that up just right, you're going to have, you're going to have your own, wavelengths. You're going to, your heart's going to peak at a certain time, and it's just you. It's indigenous to you. And so your biorhythms are going to be easy to identify. In fact, they've got ways of doing it right now through heat scanners and they can scan you there, but they can scan it shows who you are, that you have your own biosignature with electricity. It shows who you are, that you have your own biosignature with electricity, with heat, breathing rhythms in a few minutes, and they can say, hey, that's Bob. That's only Bob has. He breathes on an average of this many breaths per minute, heartbeat PM, blood pressure, all the stuff that's indigenous to Bob. Now you take a little medicine, there's still going to be the other identification markers, and they're going to be able to tell, hey, that's Ray or that's Bob or whoever it is. So you really don't need the computer chip anymore, it being implanted. They're almost there. In fact, the military is starting to use that technology for identification. Retina scanning is one of the latest things. Face imprinting, that if you have a new iPhone, how does it read you? Just face recognition. So, that biochip is really that's kind of yesterday's technology. So I don't think you're going to see the biochip around that much longer. Although there may be a GPS tag that they may use for tracking and stuff. But that would only be a way for enforcement. It's not going to be the mark of the beast. If that's what it is, I'll fight to the death before somebody, shoves one of those at me. So it's not a matter of that. And the reality is, in the days of Jesus, when they would take you captive and put you to death, they would tattoo the Jews, they would tattoo, the Hitler did, they would tattoo prisoners and stuff like that. That's the mark of the beast. Well, again, If it was, they stand no hope. So, we got to move beyond just that. So it's a matter of, the mark of the beast really isn't so much about a physical mark. Is it about the allegiance of worship? And that's where it comes down to. Choose you this day whom you will serve. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. How about you? And if that's where you stand, that's where the rubber will meet the road. All right, so let's take a look at it. So here in the United States, especially down in the South, there's these little booklets. People used to put these in phone booths. We don't have phone booths anymore, but you see them on convenience store shelves now. And when I saw this, the first time I saw this little kind of a blue and white booklet, I thought, oh man, this is cool. I'm going to learn about Mr. 666. I'm going to learn about the beast. I'm going to learn about his mark. I'm going to know who he is, what it is, how I can avoid it, and all that stuff. And I open it up, and just this silly little cartoon went along and said, everyone shall receive my mark. So there's this unknown, weird little guy that stands up. He's pontificating something. I don't know what he's pontificating about. And he says, everyone will receive my mark in his forehead, his eye, with the heart of the mark you will be able to sell. Oh, well, who is he? Well, the Lord gives a man to worship the beast, blah, blah, blah. And there's just no information. And I turn the pages, and it's more of the same. And I have no clue who this guy is. So how can I avoid his trouble if I don't know who he is? And, and I know that the authors of these little booklets, they mean well, but they're giving you absolutely zero information. And it would be like trying to tell you, ever listen to some of these directions that just has no clue where north, south, east, or west is, and they have no clue how to give you directions. Well, you go down there, road, take a first piece, about take a left there at the stoplight, and the flashing light there, and you turn right there, and then you go down a little bit further, and you see a man there with a dog on a leash, and you turn left by him, and then you go down to the red light again, and well, wait a minute, what if it's green? And they give you these erroneous, was that north, south, how far it is? Oh, it's about 30 miles from here, maybe, or so, Or sometimes they don't even give you directions. They don't give you any clue as to how, and you realize they were talking 30 miles, down the road, and you're looking for these turns, a mile away or a half a mile away, and you realize this man was talking 30 miles down the road. And it says the directions are horrible because he or she is just really bad at giving directions. You ever notice that? Do you think Jesus is bad at giving you directions? No, he's going to give you such crystal clear direction in this that you're going to know. And remember I told you, by the time we get to the mark of the beast, you're going to know who the beast is, you're going to know what his mark is, you're going to know, wow, this makes so much sense. I should have had a V, and I should have seen this long before. And so tonight, I promise you, it's going to make crystal clear clarity to you. The warning against the worship of the beast is the most urgent in the entire Bible. So Jesus is going to give us with crystal clarity. It's one group that worships the Creator, and one group that worships the beast or the dragon. So let's take a look. The store is closed. There's going to be an economic boycott. We read that. We get that. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast. That the image of the beast should speak and cause as many of those to be put to death who don't worship the beast. So death to those who don't worship as we do is the idea. See, it's all about what? Worship. That's the key ingredient here. It's not about some secular power. It's not about some computer chip. It's not about buying and selling. It's all about choosing this day whom you will serve. If you're going to worship Christ the life giver, if you worship that life giver, you are in danger of your life because the beast doesn't want you to worship Christ the life giver. And so already I think you probably have a clue, because if it's about worship, because people say, well, why do you make this such an important topic? Because it's about my allegiance to Jesus Christ. Worship. Who you worship shows your allegiance. Ezekiel chapter 20, verse 20, Ezekiel chapter 20, verse 12 says that moreover, I've given them my Sabbaths to be a sign between me and the rest of them, that they might know that you serve the Lord your God. So it was all about allegiance to God. It was all about the worship, and it was all about whom you worship and why you worship Him. Well, we worship Jesus because He's our Creator. He gave us life. He gave us life He gave us our lives back at and He gives us our lives eternally when He comes, King of Kings. So the third angel followed the saying with a loud voice, "If any man worships the beast and his image and receives his mark in," now notice it says in his forehead or in his hand, "the same shall receive the drink, or same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without indignation, the mixture of the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb." So again, it's about worship, and it's about a mark that goes in. What's inside your forehead? Your brains. So it's in your belief structure, you see. Yeah. What's inside your hands? Well, the physical ability to do some work. So it's either in your belief structure or it's in what you do. So it's going to be in your actions. Now, here it is. Let's take a look at the identification marks of the beast himself. And I stood upon the sands of the sea, and I saw a beast rise up out of the sea. Remember what sea represents? People, nations, tribes, and tongues, different nations. And I saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having how many heads? 7 heads, and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his head the names of what? Blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard. Okay, so we see this multi-faceted beast again, like the leopard in Daniel chapter 7. We see the leopard with eagle's wings. We see the lion. We see the bear. So we see a composite beast here. Revelation chapter 13 has clearly, John has read Daniel chapter 7, and he's referring to these beasts, and God had shown these beasts. He knew what they represented. You remember what the lion represented? It represented Babylonia. The leopard represented Greece, remember? And so we see all these different beasts. And I saw a name of blasphemy, and it was like a leopard, his feet like a bear, and his mouth was like a lion. And the dragon gave him, now so the dragon, who's the dragon? We identified the dragon on Revelation 12 when we studied about that. Who's the dragon? That old devil, the serpent, dragon, the devil himself. So the dragon, or the devil, gave him his great authority in his seat. So who is this beast? Well, let's go and identify. First off, the dragon gave him his power and seat, his great authority. So who's the dragon that gives the power to the beast? Of course, we just identified that as Satan. So Satan now, does Satan work directly, or does he work through human agencies? He works through kingdoms. He doesn't work. Yeah, he works through some form of creation. Even in the Garden of Eden, he didn't appear as himself, did he? How did he appear? Well, as a serpent. So he imposters. He's an imposter, and he works through agencies of creation. And now he works through kingdoms. Revelation 12 verse 9 identifies the dragon as Satan, but Satan works through human agencies. Revelation chapter 12, the dragon working through the pagan Rome attempted to destroy Jesus. So a Roman official tried to what? Tried to kill Jesus. The Roman governor what? A Roman executioner crucified Jesus. A Roman emblem sealed his tomb, and a Roman guard watched his tomb. So is it possible that Rome gave the devil his power, this new beast power, his authority? Well, let's take a look. Notice what the Catholic writing institution says. The succession of the Caesars came the succession of the Pontiffs in Rome. When Constantine left Rome, he gave his seat to whom? The Pontiff. Remember, Constantine moved his capital in 321 AD from Rome to Istanbul, Turkey, renamed it Constantinople. So there's the map that shows it. So he renames it Constantinople. Now, he's got a problem because remember the Caesars ruled out of Rome. What does he do with that political vacuum in Rome? He gives it to the Pope. So now the Pope is the ruler in Rome. The draconic power giving the papacy his power. Now the papacy claims to be in place of God. We'll show that in just a minute. And so now the political vacuum, later Justinian, about 300 years later, 300 years later, Justinian gives the Pope the full power of authority of the corrector of heretics. In the meantime, Rome was held by the papacy. History identifies this power, the transfer of the emperor's residence. You know what's really interesting? I want to pause here for a second. What's really interesting about this is that 99.9% of all Protestants, there wasn't very many that didn't teach this same very message up until the end of the 20th century, or the end of the 19th century. And well into the 20th century, most Protestants were teaching this. There's two types of Christians on planet Earth. There's Catholic and then there's Protestant. In Protestant, the word Protestant is meaningless. Unless you know what the word Protestant means. It is, if you say Protestant, now that means, now today we saw Judge Kavanaugh, confirm. So, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, God knows, and that's up to him, right? And it seems like it's over, But there were Protestants out there, weren't there? They were Protestants, they were protesting this authority, they were protesting this. Now, again, I don't know if they were good Protestants or bad Protestants. I'm not going to go that wrong. I'm going to stay apolitical on that topic right now. But they were protesting. Yeah, now they're Protestants on both sides. A Protestant does just that. They protest, right? And so Protestants against Rome was this: you serve the church, we serve Jesus. Your authority comes from the church, our authority comes from the Word of God. That's what a Protestant is. And all Protestants in the United States of America, up until just recently, this new phenomenon, as we started transitioning from the 20th to the 21st century, all Protestants were teaching the same message. They have morphed away from this. Now why? Well, ecumenicism is part of the reason. They have, well, let's just all play together because it just doesn't matter. We need to stop arguing. No, Isaiah says, come, let's argue about theology. Let's hammer this out. Let's do it the right way. Now, again, argument isn't a bad thing as long as you're not being argumentative. There's a difference. Are you with me? You're presenting a point. Say, hey, let's talk about this. Let's hammer this out. Let's deal with this. Let's be adults and say, you lay your cards on the table, I'll lay my cards on the table, and we'll show and who's got the better hand. Well, the better hand is in Jesus Christ and His Word. Amen? And so that's where you want to go. And so all Protestants were seeing this. So history identifies the transference of the Empire of Rome. Was given to the resident of Constantinople, was a sad blow to the prestige of Rome, and at that time one might have predicted her speedy decline. But the development of the church and the growing authority of the Bishop of Rome, or the Pope, gave her a new lease on life and made her, once again, the capital, this time a religious capital. So remember Daniel chapter 7, last night it would be a different leadership. It would be a different power. It wouldn't be just a political power, but also a religious power. And so now we see this new religious power growing up out of Rome, the seat of the dragon at the time. So identification mark number 1 would be Rome. 7 heads. Well, this is a mind that calls for wisdom. Revelation chapter 17, verse 9, the Bible tells us what the 7 heads represent. The 7 heads are the 7 hills on which the woman sits. What is Rome also known as? The city of what? 7 hills. Isn't that interesting? I don't think that that's coincidental. So Rome is known as the city of 7 hills. Here's the mind that has wisdom. So another identification mark. So you're looking at that $100 bill, trying to see if it's real or not. Yep, it's got the strip. Yep, it's got the watermark. So we got 2 major identification marks identifying the papacy as the beast power of Revelation 13. So let's see if it continues down that same road as the papacy. And they worship the dragon, who gave power unto the beast, and they worship the what? The beast. So the next identification mark is going to be a system of worship. Whereas we're taught today that the beast power is some sort of secular power. No. Beloved, this is about worship. What other entity carries so much power that it has the control of almost a third of the earth? A total controlling power that demands worship. You got to worship their way or you are excommunicated. Excommunicated means something quite different than being kicked out of the church. What does, those of you who are Catholic or even practice Catholics, what does excommunication mean? You know, if you're on that Monopoly board, it's do not what? Do not collect $200. You're going directly to hell on a greased chute. Yeah, that's what being excommunicated. So I'm killing you with death, you see. You are condemned to death. I don't have that. That's what Jesus says. Don't judge a man. You have no right to judge a man. The fool says in his heart there is no God. And if you judge a man a fool, then you're judging him to hell, and you don't have the authority to judge a man to hell. That's Jesus' job. Amen? So you can't do that. The church claims the power to judge a man to hell, another beast, or another identification mark. Now he opened his mouth to blaspheme against God, to blaspheme his name, and his tabernacle, and they that dwell in heaven, and all that dwell upon the earth. So it's a blasphemous system. And shall worship him whose names are now written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the earth. And so that's another statement that Jesus was the light giver in the beginning at the cross and when he comes. Amen? Because Jesus was, salvation has been by grace since the beginning of time. Our friends would like to tell you that salvation by grace begins at the cross, but nothing can be further from the truth. Salvation by grace began at the Garden of Eden. That's where it began. And they use, now I think you're clever enough to see why they try to say that salvation starts at the cross and moves forward, because they don't want to keep the 10 Commandments. They don't want to, it's not that they have a problem with 10 Commandments. They don't have a problem. 90% of all Christians, maybe 95% of all Christians, don't have problems with 9 of the 10 Commandments. It's just 1 out of 10 that they struggle with.
And because they struggle with that one commandment, that's the fourth commandment, so they throw it up and say, well, we don't have to do that if we're saved by grace now, you see. And grace started at the cross, so after the cross we're saved by grace, so we don't have to do that anymore. And I say, no, we've always been saved by grace. So if you've been saved by grace all the time, how can you throw that out? Because grace was around before the Ten Commandments were delivered to Moses. Am I right? Grace was in the Garden of Eden. Moses didn't receive the Ten Commandments until thousands of years later. Right? Yeah, so, you can't throw that out because of grace. You can't get rid of the Sabbath because of grace. And so that's why our Christian friends today are trying to say that, oh, you live before grace. You're trying to live in the Old Testament times where there was no grace. Grace has always been there. So that's why they do it. It's just such a poisonous, noxious doctrine because people drink it and it sounds good. It really do. And it really does. And Christians, they drink this drink of noxious poison and they become deluded. Their mind says, oh yeah, that's just my pastor says you were saved by grace now. And we don't have to be like Moses. We don't have to keep the law anymore. It sounds nice, but it's not biblical. Never has salvation come by obeying the law. The reason we keep the law is because we love God and we love our neighbors. That law has always been in effect. And so you see the difference. You see what's going on here. Christians will convolute this because they want to support their what's the word I'm looking for? Erroneous theology. Their error in theology. They want to support that somehow. And in order to do that, they have to change things. And they have to change the method of grace. Christ left here at the beginning of the cross when he comes. Worship. Universal system of worship. So what does it say? Shall worship him. All who should worship him. To be a universal system of worship. Well, what's the word Catholic mean? All power was given all kindreds, tongues, and people and nations. All power. Have you ever noticed an institution that has so much power as the Roman Catholic Church? Do we, as the United States government, do we have an ambassador to the papacy? Why? Why? Why don't we have an ambassador that would go and visit the president of the Southern Baptist Convention? Why don't we have an emissary that goes and visits him? Why don't we have one for the Episcopals? Why don't we have one for, whoever? The Pentecostals. Why is the Catholic Church the only religious institution that we have a U.S. ambassador to? Yeah, they consider it a country, that's right. 100 million acres, they consider it a country. And when the Pope travels, listen, I know the conference presidents of different denominations, they have some power. But they don't have the power that this dude has. This guy can go in unannounced and say, I want to visit with that president or the king or whoever. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to open the door and roll out the red carpet for him, don't you think? He's the Pope, man. He's the leader of the religious world. The power is unbelievable. Strange bedfellows he's made. I mean, of course, here's George Bush with him. I got some new pictures too, but whatever. Here he is with the Mexican president. Here he is with Pope John Paul with the Dalai Lama. That's unbelievable. The late Yasser Arafat. Look at these guys. Here's the Queen of England. Vladimir, Vlad. Fidel Castro. Oh man, that was a bizarre arrangement, wasn't it? Clinton, our new presidents. Everybody meets with this guy. Everybody. Worldwide power. 24% of Americans are Catholics. 38% of Europeans are Asian, 3.1%. Africa, 16.1%. And Latin America, 86.5%. That's pretty influential world. That's power, man. All the world wondered after the beast. Takes on a whole new meaning, doesn't it? Now you start to see how the puzzle fits together. Once again, history testifies to the truthfulness of prophecies, political influence beyond measure. Notice what history says about him. Under him, nearly was made good the people claimed that all earthly sovereigns were merely vassals of the Roman pontiff. Almost all the kings of Europe swore fealty to him as their overlord. Rome was once more the mistress of the world. No crowned king in Europe and after Rome and all throughout the Roman Empire could be crowned as king without the Pope's blessing.
That's right.
That's power, beloved, both historical and new. Now, and there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things, and blasphemy and power was given unto him to continue 40 months. So that's easy. How many days in a biblical month? There's 30 days in a biblical month. That's how a lunar month works. So 30 times 42, what's 30 times 42? I'll do the math for you. 1,260. You check me out. So 1,260. So 30 days in a biblical month times 42 months. 1,260. I have appointed thee each day for a year. Ezekiel 4:6, Numbers 14:34. So a day represents a year, so you got 1,260 days, translates to 1,260 years, right? 1,260 years. Did the papacy rule supreme for 1,260 years? And the answer is, yep, you bet your bippy they did. It started as dominant rule in 538 AD. So it's talking about blasphemy here. Let's look at blasphemy for it in a minute, then we'll go back to the 1,260 days. Blasphemy and God, blaspheme God and his name and tabernacle and them that dwell in heaven. So it's all about blasphemy. What is blasphemy? Well, Jesus was accused of blasphemy, wasn't he? And so how was Jesus accused of blasphemy? In John chapter 10, verse 33, it says, the Jews answered him, saying, for a good work we don't stone you, but for blasphemy, because you being a man make yourself what? Now, if Jesus was not who he claimed to be, would Jesus have been blaspheming? Did you hear that question? Let me say it again to make, if Jesus was not who he claimed to be, I believe he was, would he have been blaspheming? Yes, that would be blasphemy. So if Pastor Ken or myself or Pastor Carlos back there, or the associate pastor would come, I'm God! Watch out, that's blasphemy, isn't it? Yep, it sure is. Does the papacy claim to be God? Yes, indeed. Who opposes and exalted himself of all that is called God, or that is worshipped, Paul tells us, so that he is God, sitteth on the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. The Bible identifies blasphemy as assuming rights and powers that belong to God alone. Do they claim this power? Without question. Notice this in their own encyclopedia, their own ecclesiastical dictionary. It says the Pope, read it with me, the Pope is so great dignity and so exalted, he is not a mere man, but as it were God. Wow! And the vicar of God, vicar is a contraction for vicarious, in place of. He is in place of God. He claims to be God according to their own ecclesiastical understanding of holy matters. The Pope is God. I remember every time a Pope would die, my aunt would cry. She was not Catholic. And I said, why are you crying at Bryant? So I just, the Pope, he's God. How can God die? It's just like, no, he's a man. Pope Leo XIII, what's he saying? We hold upon this earth the place of God Almighty. Another identification mark. Now they believe it. Now most Catholics, honestly, blessed Catholics' hearts, they don't, that's why I say I don't bash Catholics. I love them to pieces. Love them to life. They're just wonderful people. They don't have any clue as to what they believe. They don't know what their church teaches. But their church officially teaches that the Pope is God. He's the vicar of God. You get salvation through him. You don't get salvation through Jesus. You have to go through the church. The vicar of God. Now the scribes and Pharisees began to reason, saying, who is this which speaketh blasphemies? Who, read it with me, who can forgive sins but what? Is that a true statement or not? Absolutely. God is the only one that can forgive sins. Amen? Now I can forgive you this way. You do something bad to me. You steal from me. And you come in and say, I'm sorry, I stole that, candy bar from you. Here's the candy bar back, and here's $5. Let's make it right. I'm so sorry. Right? And I forgive you. I can do it this way. But you got to get on your hands and knees and do another thing, don't you? Lord, I'm what? I'm sorry I stole from Rick. You see, you got to have that's why Jesus, fully man, fully God, he does it both ways. He forgives us this way and this way. He can forgive us all the way. You need to go to Jesus. Now, I can't take care of that part. That you need to go to him. Now, you need to come to me, obviously. You need to get that repentance out of the way, get that forgiven, but you also need to go to Jesus. The papacy claims the ability to do both. And this is why they do that cross thing. They believe that they can do both. For there is one God and one mediator between God and men, that man is who? Jesus Christ. So Jesus Christ is the only one that they now. This is unbelievable. God himself is obliged to abide by the judgments of the priests, and either not to pardon or to pardon according to as they refuse, or give absolution. The sentence of the priest, what is this word here? Precedes. Precedes what? Precedes God, and God must subscribe to it. As if he's, oh yes, Mr. Priest, I'll obey you. I will ascend my throne above the stars of heaven. I will be like the Most High. Are you hearing the language there? It sounds pretty suspicious to me. I'm thinking we're identifying the beast of Revelation chapter 13 as the papacy, don't you think? Again, and there was a mouth given unto him speaking great things and blasphemies. The power was given him 42 months. Well, let's look at that 42 months. And he would receive a deadly wound. It says in Revelation, it says, and I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was what? Healed. And all the world wondered after the beast. So it would receive a deadly wound. The deadly wound would mark its 1260-year papal supremacy. They call that period of time the religious dark ages. Why was it the religious dark ages? Because number one, the Bible was chained to the pulpit. If you were, had a copy of the Bible, you were labeled as a heretic, and you were burnt at the stake, stuck on a cross, you were killed, drowned. Now, there's some books that you just got to read, and it'll hurt your feelings reading. It's called Fox's Book of Martyrs. Tells you about the papacy, what it did. Do you know that there were between 50 and 150 million Christians that were butchered and put to death? You know what their crime was? Heresy. Do you know what 90% of the heretics, what they worshiped, who they worshiped, and how they worshiped? They were Sabbatarians. The crime of heresy that they committed was Sabbath keeping. And so 90% of those that between the 50 and 150 million people that were put to death during the religious dark ages during the papal supremacy from 538 AD until 1798 AD were Sabbath keepers. Because the church, remember, transferred the day from Saturday to Sunday. And so they were put to death. So they had power to worship. Now, it said at the end of that 1260-year period, they would put to death. It would seem like it would receive a deadly wound. Now, in 533, Justinian gave the Pope the title Corrector of Heretics. He was also leaving Rome as the papacy's domain. It took the papacy almost 5 years to correct that problem. By the time 538 rolls around, he had wiped out the last three nations opposing them. The Vandals, the Carolini, and the Ostrogoths. The Ostrogoths were the last to be driven out of Rome, completely obliterated. You won't find those people on planet Earth anymore. They're done. Genocide was committed. Those who opposed the papacy were wiped out. So it began full supreme reign in 538 AD. And it would march on for 1,260 years. If you count from 538 AD, 1,260 years later, brings you down to the year 1798, 1798. Napoleon was busy in 1798. Busy trying to conquer the world. 42 months. 42 times 30. 1,260. 42 months equals 1,260 years. I've given each year, day for a year. Ezekiel 4:6, Numbers 14:34, and it says the same thing. So again, their own writings, not my statements, but their own writings. Vigilus, the papal chair, under the military protection of Osiris, history of the churches, began the rule in 538 AD. The legacy recognized supremacy of the Pope began in 538 AD when went into effect the decree, Emperor Justinian making the Bishop of Rome the head over all the churches, the defender of doctrine, and the corrector of heretics, and he won it over in 538 AD. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints, and overcome them with power, and was given unto him over kindreds and tongues and nations and people. And he put them to death. We already talked about between 50 and 150 million people put to death by the papacy. So I saw one of its heads as it were wounded to death. Well, as it were, it just seems that way. Because the papacy is still around, isn't it? But in 1798, when they took the Pope captive, it looked like it was all over with. In 1798, where they made the entrance into Rome, abolished the papal government and established a secular one. Now, at that time, it appeared as if the papacy was dead. Nobody thought it would come back, but it came back with a vengeance, didn't it? In fact, in 1929, Benito Mussolini signed a treaty called, that if kids don't study it in high school anymore, which is really a shame, he signed the Lateran Treaty. Benito Mussolini, remember they World War II, they strung him up, in Italy down there, they hung him, they got tired of that dictator. And I tried to go to the street where they hung him, and I looked at all the lampposts, and I said, well, I must have seen it there, I'm not sure which lamppost they hung him from, but they hung him out there. So I know I saw it, I don't know which one it was, nobody does for sure. But they hung Benito Mussolini. Benito Mussolini signed the Lateran Treaty re-establishing the papacy in 1929. His deadly wound would be healed. Many men have an ear. This is interesting. Jesus, when he was on earth, in the Gospels, he says, he that hath ears, let him hear. Right? Remember hearing that? John doesn't say he that hath ears. What does he say? He that hath an ear. It's like he's saying, even if you're only paying half attention, you can't miss this. Even if you're only parenthetically listening to this, you won't miss this. He that hath an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall be killed with the sword. He that must be killed with the sword. I'm reading that bad. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that is killed with the sword, must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience of the faith of the saints. Brittany entered Rome on the 10th day of February 1798 and declared Rome the Republic. France the Republic. Half a year thought that Napoleon's veto would be obeyed, and that with the Pope, the papacy was dead. Again, their own history. But the Bible says, and I saw, one of it says, as it what? As it were wounded to death. But his deadly wound was what? And all the world once again wondered after the beast. So we see that, and it's happening all over again, isn't it? The Roman question, this was done in 1929, the Roman question tonight was a thing of the past. The Vatican was at peace with Italy in affixing the autographs of the memorable document, healing the wound. I love the way that paper put that. Healing the wound. Extreme cordiality was displayed on both sides. That was from the San Francisco Chronicle, February 11, 1929, the day after the Lateran Treaty was signed. And today, popes are called in, and all the world wonders after the beast. The papacy has gained worldwide prestige, influence, and honor and prominence. You name it, they've got it. And all the world wonders after the beast. Now, let's get to this. And we can play a little geometry if you want. Here is the wisdom. Here is he that hath understanding. Let him count the number of the beast, for it is the number of the man. For his number is 666. Now, before we begin, I don't know if the Bible writers, if John had the idea of gematria in mind or not. Here's the reality of things. Christ the life-giver went in the beginning. And what's that perfect number for God? 7. 7, 7, 7. In the beginning at the cross and when he comes, 7, 7, 7. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, 7, 7, 7. Are you with me? Beast, false prophet, and dragon. We're going to look at that here in the next few nights. Beast is less than God, so that would be 6. Dragon, less than God, that would be 6. And the false prophet. Well, the beast we're identifying. Who's the beast? Well, we're identifying him so far as the Roman papacy. The leader of the Roman church and the doctrine that they follow. The dragon, well, that's easy. That's the devil. The false prophet are those that fall into category with the wandering of the beast. 666. I think that's probably more the 666 than anything else. But if you want, we'll play the game Gematria and look at that. So we have Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, Christ the life-giver, the beginning at the cross, and when he comes, 777. Or we've got the beast, the false prophet, and the dragon, 666. But if you want to play Gematria, let's look at Gematria and see if Gematria fits. Throughout Revelation, the 777 represents perfection. We just talked about that. The number 6 represents imperfection. It was a basis for the Babylonian system of calculation. The 666 therefore symbolizes the triple union of error, of the union of dragon, the beast, and the false prophet. Now, here's the question. On our Sunday Visitor, it says, question, what are the letters supposed to be in the Pope's crown, and what do they signify, if anything? And the letters that inscribed on the Pope's mitre are these, Vicarius Filii Dei. So that's Latin, which is Latin for vicar of the Son of God. Vicarious, vicar is a contraction of vicarious. Vicarious in the English language is vicarious. So vicarious means, in places. So Vicarius Filii Dei, which is Latin for the vicar of the Son of God. Vicarius Filii Dei literally, well, let me just finish and I'll tell you what it translates to. God, the vicar of the Son of God. Catholics hold that the church is the visible society, must have a visible head. Christ, before his ascension into heaven, appointed St. Peter to act as his representative. Hence, the Bishop of Rome, head of the church, was given the title Vicar of Christ, our Sunday visitor. Now, vicarius is in place of. Filii is offspring. You know, horse people, you have a filly, right? What is a filly? It's an offspring of a horse. It's a baby horse. You know, that's where the word comes from, filii. So, vicarius, in place of filii, offspring. Dia is where we get the word deity. Deity is who? So, vicarius filii dei literally translates into in place of the offspring of God, or in place of Jesus, or Antichrist. Make sense? Isn't that something? So vicarius filii dei literally translates into Antichrist, in place of Christ. A notarized copy of Professor Johannes' questions statement regarding the common use of vicarius filii dei. Here's a notarized statement. Yeah, it's common. You know, it used to be more common. It's not so much common now. Now it's more like Vicar of Christ or vicarius dei. You know, so they use different titles for them. That's just one of the titles of the Pope. So in the interview with the Korea, Professor Johannes' question wrote this. He says the title Vicarius Christi, as well as Vicarius filii dei, is very common as the title of the Pope. So John Paul claimed to be the vicar of the Son of God. The Pope is considered the man on earth who represents the Son of God, who takes the place of the second person of the omnipotent God of the Trinity. So, what does that mean? Does it translate? Does it work? Well, let's see if it works. Does vicarius filii dei in gematria, does it equal 666? And I think you'll be surprised to find out that maybe it does. V equals what? 5. I equals what? 1. C, remember it equals what? Well, A has no value in the Roman numeral system, so it's 0. Same thing with R. I is 1. U and V are interchangeably used. If you take a look if you go to college, if you go to the South Campus, and if it's written in the original languages there, it's S-O-V-T-H. You'll see a V as a Y, and a U and V are interchangeably used. So V and U are interchangeably used. So instead of saying, you would say, why does it say South Campus instead of South Campus? Because that's the way they made the U's and the V's. They were interchangeably used. The vowels weren't used. So U and V are interchangeably used, and that represents 5. S has no value. Filii, F has no value. I is 1. L is 50. I is 1 again, and you add it up, that's 53. And then D is 500, remember, and I is 1. No value for E, so that's 500. Well, let's add 112 plus 53 plus 501. What do you suppose that adds up to? There it is. It works. Another identification mark. So if somebody's name adds up to 666, it doesn't mean that that's the beast power, Revelation 13. It just means that it might be one of the identification marks. And so far, we've got all 10 or 11 of them. Are you with me? And if you have, if the old shoe fits, you gotta kind of say that's kind of good. You got all the evidence before you. You need evidence. If you're going to convict somebody of guilt, you need evidence. Did we just produce some evidence? Yeah, so you have to make it, and again, once again, what really surprises me is that Protestantism has moved away from this. Now, the main reason Protestantism has moved away from this is because of the seventh-day Sabbath, because they don't want to embrace the full knowledge of this, because if they embrace the full thing, then they have to embrace all of this, and that's just too inconvenient. They weren't there yet. Martin Luther was almost there. Before he died, he almost discovered the Sabbath. In fact, history tells us that he was studying this. Some of the Baptists discovered this. They became Seventh-day Baptists because they discovered the truth about the Sabbath, and they taught the Adventists about the Sabbath. A little lady by the name of Rachel Oakes, who was a Seventh-day Baptist, she says, you're a Protestant and you believe the Bible. Why don't you teach the full commandments of the Bible? And the Adventist pastor said, well, I don't know. What are you talking about? She says, you're missing the Sabbath. And he goes, oh my goodness, and he's honest, and he starts reading it, and sure enough, he starts embracing the Sabbath, started keeping it. Started teaching. So what is the mark of the beast? So if we've identified the beast as the papacy, now it's easy to figure out what the mark of the beast is. We'll just go to him and ask him, what's your mark, Mr. Beast? But I would rather, we can do that, and we will, but I would much rather find out what God's mark is. Now, the word for mark in the Hebraic language is interchangeably used with the word seal or mark or sign or post or monument. So a monument could be The same translated word as mark. You know, in the English language, we got, multiple words for the same thing. In most other languages, usually one or two words. So mark, sign, post, monument, all mean the same thing in the Hebraic language, and that Hebraic word is F. 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 E-T-H, O-T-H, or A-T-H. Off, F, or F. Off. You with me? So, there was a monument that, remember? There was a monument. What was Bethel? Who made that monument? Bethel. Bethel. Who made that? Abraham. What was he doing? This is this place where I saw God. Bethel. I'm going to call it the well, and Bethel. Bethel. What does Bethel mean? Book is the inseparable preposition that's used like the @ sign in an email address. So Beth, book, F-L. F means sign, monument. Book, F, at the sign. Who was there? Who did he see? God. El, El-Elyon, Elohim. El is the name for God. So Bethel means at the sign of God. Bethlehem means at the sign, under the sign or at the sign of the baker. Lehem is the house of baking goods, So it stands to reason that Jesus Christ, the bread of life, would be born under the sign of the baker. Amen? So Bethlehem. What is God's sign? Sabbath. What does Sabbath mean? A sign of rejuvenation. Rejuvenation. A sign of rest. The Sabbath of rest. It literally means that. So is it possible that Jesus' sign is the Sabbath? His seal? Here it is. And I saw another angel flying from the east, having the seal, or mark, or monument, or post of the living God. And he cried with a loud voice to the angels, who was given to hurt the earth and the sea, and saying, do not hurt the earth and the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed, or offed. Offed, sealed, the servants of our God. Where? In their belief structure. In their foreheads. God's seal only goes in our brains, because our brains are naturally going to dictate our actions, aren't they? So it only goes in our head. The devil doesn't care whether you believe it, because if you have something that's in your head, hey, this is my belief structure, this is my paradigm, this is where I'm coming from. If you naturally believe something, you're going to act upon it, right? Yeah? You're going to naturally do it. And so God only seals his people in their faith. He doesn't want a dog and pony show. Don't give me just lip service. I want to see you live the life. Are you with me? So God knows he only needs to seal his people in their forehead. The devil will seal you in your forehead or in your hand. He doesn't care whether you do it, his work, or you just do it out of, because you believe in the devil and you believe the beast, you believe all that stuff. If you believe the devil and the beast and all that stuff, you're going to naturally do it. He doesn't care if you just do it out of obedience or if you just do it because you don't care. So his mark can also go in your works or in your hand. Make sense? Okay, so let's look at it. So God only seals us in his forehead. So what is a seal? What are the elements of a seal? Well, in the presidential seal, we see a couple of attributes. We see a name, a title, and a territory. George Washington, what's that? That's his name. President of the United States. That's what's going to be on his seal when he stamps something. George Washington, his name, territory, United States, name, title, and territory. Is God's seal found somewhere? There's a clue. Isaiah chapter 8, verse 16. What's it say? Read it with me. Bind up the testimony, seal the law among my disciples. Is it possible God's seal, his holy seal, is in his 10 Commandments? Let's see. Where are your phylacteries? The frontlets or arms of the seal or the mark on the right hand or the forehead evokes God's injunction to bind his commandments on the hands of the frontlets. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 8. The Jews carry out this command physically by wearing a phylactery. And what they do is they wear these little boxes, and they wear it on their hand close to their heart, and they wear it on their forehead. So it's in their belief structures, they do it. Now, what's in there is little miniature 10 Commandments. That's the idea. And so they have, because they know that the seal of God is in the commandments. Are you with me? And so they do this to this day. Now, we don't have to do that physically, because that's just an outward symbol of what they did. But the idea is that they believe it. Moreover, now Ezekiel 20, verse 12, moreover, I also gave them my Sabbaths that they might be a what? A sign. What's the word for sign in the Hebraic language? F, or O. It's the same. It's a mark or a seal. That they might be a mark or a seal between me and them, that they might know I'm Lord. So the Sabbath is God's seal. The Sabbath is God's seal. The Sabbath is God's seal. Now, in the Ten Commandments, you will see in God's 10th commandment, the 4th commandment, it has his name. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. For 6 days the Lord, your God. His name, his title, Creator. His title, God, created the heavens and the what? Earth. His name, his title, and his territory, right there in the 4th commandment. Are you with me? God's seal is his Sabbath. That's why this message of the Sabbath is so important. Because a brother asked me, why do you emphasize the Sabbath so much? Because it's God's seal. It's his mark. This is the one he wants us to embrace. This is what sets us aside from every other denomination. This is what sets us aside from, like Muslim, what I mean by that is Muslim, from any other worshiper of other gods. It sets us aside from any other worshiper. Whether they be a worship of Muhammad, whether they be a worship of Hinduism, whether they be a worship of whatever, it sets us aside because we are Sabbath keepers. We believe in the Creator of the life given at the beginning, at the cross, and when he comes. Amen. It is the Sabbath that sets us aside, that sets us apart, that makes us unique. It makes us special. Now, the Sabbath doesn't make us intrinsically special, but the belief structure of Jesus Christ, Jesus makes us special. Amen? So it's the Sabbath. So yes, it's important because it is God's declarative statement that says, these are my people. I have sealed them. Look, they follow me. Just like Job. If you consider my servant Job, he follows me. Well, let me do what I want to know. He said, well, he'll still follow me. In all this, Job said not going to charge God foolishly at the end. Because he didn't care what others said. He had his friends, his neighbors, all these guys coming and berating him and telling him he did all this stuff wrong. He was goofy. And just, and he says, nope, I'm gonna keep God's seal. And he kept it going. Are you with me? Because he believed in the life at the beginning of the cross when it comes. So God's seal is in the heart of his law. Right there in the 4th commandment. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shall you labor and do all that. But the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. Name, title, and territory. Now Satan hates the Sabbath because he knows it's God's seal. He knows it's his mark. Now, the tactic that blows me away is the devil has always tried to do away with God. And he does it by doing opposites. You'd think we as Homo sapiens would get onto this message and just say, hey, devil, I get what you're all about. You just do the opposite. God says, don't eat of it. If you eat of it, you will surely what? The devil comes along and says, just the opposite. Go ahead, Eve. Eat of it. You're not going to die. God says stop. The devil says go. God says go. The devil says stop. God says remember the Sabbath day. The devil says forget the Sabbath day. God says the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. The devil says it's the opposite of that. What's on the other end of the 7th day of the week? The first day of the week. It's the complete opposite. Are you with me? The devil turns all the signposts around. He thinks to change times in the house, the devil says. Well, that's what he tries to do. The Pope has or Daniel said, I should say, well, the devil's right. He tries to change the law. The Pope has some power to change times and abrogate laws and to dispense with all things, even the precepts. What's a precept? It's a thought process. It's an idea. It's a paradigm of Christ. Have you any proof that he had power to change the commandments and feasts and holy days? Absolutely, the Catholics say. By the very act of changing the Sabbath day into what? Sunday, which Protestants allow and therefore fondly contradict themselves by keeping Sunday strictly and breaking most of the other feast and command days of the same church. Have you any other way of proving the church has power of instituting festivals and precepts? This is from the Abridgment of Christian Doctrine, Catholic writing, not mine. And the answer is yes. Had she not had such a power, she could not have substituted the observance of Sunday, the first day of the week, for the observance of Saturday, the 7th day of the week. A change for which there is what? No scriptural authority. There's no scriptural authority for those that want to keep Sunday sacred as well. Again, it's a nice day to do it, but you do this without authority. It's nice to say you do it, but you do it without authority. And so why? Where do you get this from? Well, this is what my pastor said. This is what my mom and dad did, grandma, grandpa. God bless them. Truly in these times of ignorance, God overlooks. I have no condemnation for them, but come on. You know the truth. Do something about it. The mark of the beast is consistent The mark of the beast consists, rather, in submission to the authority manifested in the observance of Sunday. If you're going to continue in this, who are you obeying? I mean, I know this is hard to hear for some of you, but if you're going to continue with this, who are you obeying? Are you obeying God? Or are you obeying man? Are you obeying God? Or are you obeying the devil? Who are you obeying? Are you obeying the beast? Who are you following? And I know I love you to pieces, but man, come on. Open your eyes and accept the Lord. Open the eyes and accept what you see in front of you. It's black and white. You get it? After warning repeatedly against the false worship of the beast, Revelation calls upon the worship of the true God in the context of the Sabbath commandment, Revelation chapter 14. So God's seal and mark of his authority. Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. Now, what specifically is the mark of the beast? The mark of the beast is the sign of Rome's church's sense of its own authority. Here it is, final proof. September 1 of 1923, Sunday is our mark of authority. The church is above the Bible, and the transference of the Sabbath is proof of it. That's pretty damning evidence. I mean, you've got all the evidence lined up statement. These are sworn statements by the church that they hold precious to this very day, and absolute evidence that they claim to be. It's easy to identify them as the beast of Revelation chapter 13. And they now admit that Sunday, the transference of Sunday sickness from Saturday to Sunday, is the mark of their ecclesiastical authority. And yet you want to embrace it. Why? Let go of following the world. Let go of following man's command and surrender to the authority of Jesus Christ and the Word of God. Surrender to it. Amen. Of course, the Catholic Church claims that admits the changes are bad, and the act is a mark of ecclesiastical authority in religious things. Over and over again, they say these powerful, powerful statements. The Catholic Church, for over 1,000 years before the existence of a Protestant, by virtue of her divine mission, changed the day from Saturday to Sunday. Catholic Mirror, September 1893. I have statement after statement after statement from them. Sunday worship is based not upon the Bible, but rather based upon custom. It's not based upon any scriptural authority or Jesus. It's based upon tradition. It's not based upon the authority of God, but rather it's based upon the commandment of the Roman Church. And yet we want to follow it. Why? This was Noel Clark, our former chief pilot.
Catholic family, and I was one of 5 kids. Mom and Dad were really devout, loving and kind to us. One of my brothers, Tony, became a Franciscan brother, and one uncle was a priest. And we went to Mass every day, basically. We were raised in the Catholic school system. I took my pre-novitiate vow, spending my 4 years of high school in convent. When I was 18, I got my pilot's license, and everything changed. Flying became my passion. Everything I did was regarding flying. I still went to church. I still believed in God, but I no longer had a simple, clean life. I started hanging around with some other pilots. They were a little older than me, and we started smoking, using drugs, drinking, and God was still there, but he was becoming just a Sunday thing. I love flying, and it had become, my passion. I became a flight instructor and a corporate pilot. And in 2004, I needed something different. My mom had died that year, and my dad had already died. And I lost my fiance, who was killed in a plane crash while we were towing banners. My life was void. I tried to pray, but it was like God wasn't there anymore. And just felt that there had to be something more. A friend whom I had taught to fly a while back, I got reacquainted with, and he was going to a Baptist church, and he invited me to go with him. So I started to learn about God through the Bible, and the more I learned, the more I really loved it. I was amazed that I had been a good Catholic for so many years, but I had never even really opened the Bible. And it seemed like the more I found out about God, the more I grew. About this time, I started receiving channel 30 in Green Bay. That's the 3ABN channel. I was just glued to it. Doug Batchelor, David Ashrick, that whole crew, I just couldn't get enough of it. God and his plans in my life, it was overwhelming. In the autumn of 2004, I got a brochure in the mail telling about a prophecy seminar going on at the Green Bay Church, and the evangelist was going to be Pastor Rick. It really was awesome. Everything was from the Bible. It was true. I just couldn't get enough of it. I loved it. But my family didn't know what to do with me. They started suggesting that I was joining a cult because they really didn't know anything about Adventism. But it was so simple. It wasn't all that Mickey Mouse stuff where one day it was a sin and the next day it wasn't, or one day I was going to hell and the next day I wasn't. Jesus Christ is the same, yesterday, today, and tomorrow. I was really excited about the opportunity to be baptized, and at the end of the seminar in October 2004, I had my chance. Oddly enough, I was still not sure whether I wanted to be an Adventist though. I was really nervous about organizations. I just really wanted to be baptized in Christ. But then I thought, well, why wouldn't I want to be an Adventist? No, I'm totally fine with it, and it's been such a blessing to be part of God's church family.
Amen.
That's Noelle Clark. Noelle's our chief pilot for Adventist World Aviation, and I've known her. She taught me how to fly. So, yeah, Noelle's quite a lady. We appreciate her. Whoops. I want to get on to the next one. So, the seal of God. What is the seal of God? Of course, it's the mark of His authority. The mark of the beast is the mark of their authority. So you've got Sabbath versus Sunday. Do you want to? Now, nobody has the mark yet in terms of it's not enforced yet. There's no law enforcing Sunday worship. But let me tell you something. There are Sunday laws that are still on the book, and the Bible predicts. I don't know what that's going to look like, but the Bible predicts that they're going to be enforced again. Now, and some of you had blue laws here in the state of North Carolina. Do you know what a blue law is? Yeah. Do you still have some blue laws on the book? Like you can't buy. Can you buy liquor in North Carolina on Sunday? How do you know? I'm sorry. I do that every time. I wasn't because I did it. Usually somebody has bites on that. Real man. But you understand what I'm saying. They're there. And some of them are, they entertain residents. They're on the books. They're dormant. They haven't been done away with. They will be enforced at some level. And they'll bring them up. It used to be quite a crime. They really did. It used to be quite a crime if you did stuff on Sunday. In Wisconsin, you can't buy a car on Sunday. The dealerships are forced to close, which really that's an infringement on my rights. And that's the only day I got a chance to go. That's when I like to go buy a car. So when I was out buying a car, I told the dealership, if you won't open for me on Sunday, so I can. It's against the law. Yeah. So they're there. Blue laws are there. They will come back out. Now, once they have teeth in it, that's when it's going to get ugly. Now, I don't know what the teeth look like, but the Bible predicts that if you don't follow the laws, you will be put to death. Now, many people think that literally means an execution command. I think we're a ways away from there, but you know what? Martial law kind of changes things, doesn't it? If somebody was to push that red button, you know which red button I'm talking about, right? And they send one over here, or two over here, or three over here, and martial law is enacted, martial law changes all the dynamics. And you know what? If they institute different things, they say, hey, listen, we want you in, hey, listen, lots of things can happen. I don't know how it's going to happen. It might be that it's something as simple. Now, the Roman Catholic Church says if you don't follow us, you're going to go directly to hell and do not pass go. You're excommunicated. I have literally killed you with death in the eyes of the Roman Catholic Church. So it might be something as ethereal as that. I don't know exactly how. It seems to me that the laws are going to be played out, and when things get ugly, people get ugly. Look at what happened during World War II. Who would think that in the 20th century, the atrocities that Hitler and even both sides of the fence would do, killing people for just no reason at all. So leaders can go cuckoo, can't they? Very quickly. So it can happen. Nobody has it yet, but we're toying with it. Why play with it? Why embrace something that we know is directly from the devil? Why? If Sunday sacredness is a direct institution of the devil himself, and I'll show that tomorrow night. Be here tomorrow night. It's exciting to see that, how the transference happen. If he embraced this, and he's why are you messing with that? Why not leave it alone and worship Jesus on his day? Leave the devil's day alone. Let him have it. Let the others, and I said, well, you know, and a lot of people say, well, you know, I got all my friends in there, and they're not all going to hell, are they? No. You know, Jesus has, but the Bible says, Jesus, I have sheep. Why do you think you came here? You think it was by accident? Jesus says, I have sheep that are not yet of this fold. When I call, they will hear my voice. And when they hear my voice, they will come into me, and I will sup with them, and they with me, and I will spend, they are my people. You are his people, and God has people that are honest in those churches that you may attend or that are going to, that God will deliver them in his time. They may not be ready for the message, but you are, and you have been here. You've been listening to it, you've been hearing it, you've been embracing it, you see that it's the truth. There's no reason to ignore it any longer, is there? Why would you ignore something that's so plain and so crystal clear? I will sit down with the best of your pastors if you want me to, but they're not going to listen. You know, and in fact, you know, here not too long ago, this morning I shared with you, I want to show you a Catholic nun that I baptized here a couple of years back. I'll share that story again, and we're a little bit late on time. Well, we're not. We don't quit until 9. That's right. We're late for being early. All the world will wander after the beast. And I'll share with you the story of our Catholic nun, Dolores Shaderick. You saw that song this morning and heard her poem. It's a powerful testimony. She came here to prove me wrong. She was going to make up to the church for, you know, she had some problems in the church. And she was a powerful lady in the church. She was a chaplain. And she came and she listened to this, and she says, you know what, I found this is the best message ever. And she says, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to kick the biggest habit I've ever done. And she took her habit off. And I baptized her. She kicked the habit. All the world wonders after the beast. What does the future hold? And they cause it will small and great, rich, poor, free, and bond, receive a mark in their right hands or in their foreheads, that no man may buy or sell, save he that hath the mark or the number of the beast, or the number of his name. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many as that would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So again, the blue laws will be instituted somehow. I don't know what it's going to look like, but they're there. They're dormant. And our legislation, you know, you can see as, you know, you saw the fight. I don't know how many watched that today. I watched it this afternoon just to see what happened. It was ugly. The forces of the left versus the force of the right. And it seems like the right has more Christians on it than the left, I would think. I don't know. I didn't do a count. But, you know, if you've got the left and the right, you know, so the left is over here arguing for something and the right is over here arguing for something. And the right says they're using their platform for religious freedoms. You know, abortion and things like that. And I'm on chart. I'm on with that. You know, I'm against abortion and all that stuff, and you know, all the licentious behavior that the left wants to promote. And you can see how vile those two factions are becoming towards one another. I mean, it's almost becoming a not so civil war. Are you with me? And it's not getting better. Have you ever seen politics so mean? I've never seen it so mean-spirited and hateful and vile, and these people are screaming and hollering and burning people in effigy, and it's hateful. So you can see we are being staged for something. I don't know what the devil's got. Well, we do know what the devil's got in mind, don't we? We can see this coming. It's on its way. When is it going to happen? I don't know. A push of the button changes everything. The Bible predicts a coming confederacy of religious of America attempting to unite church and state. The papacy may come in and say, hey, listen, we'll solve your problems. I don't know how it's going to work. Now, the history of our freedoms are and will be challenged. The coming Christ is a similar to the coming the days of Daniel when they were ordered to bow down and worship that image. We're going to be forced to bow down and worship Sunday sacredness. Now, when you hear all the sounds of all kinds of music, be ready to fall down and worship the image. Same thing, or you'll be thrown in the blazing fire. The prediction is going to be the same in the last days. So we already know what it is. Jesus has laid it out. We see who the beast is. We know what his mark is. Why play with it anymore? Get out of it. Jesus has come on for my people. Know ye not to whom ye yield yourselves servants to obey, his servants ye are to whom you obey, whether of sin unto death or obedience unto righteousness. So choose ye this day who you worship, the beast or the Creator in the beginning at the cross when he comes. Jesus invites us to follow him, and I, for one, want to follow him. Amen. I want to follow him. And I want to share with you the Dolores story. And so Dolores Shaderick, hopefully it works better than I practice it. It's supposed to work better. Dolores Shaderick came here to try to prove me wrong. Well, I just don't understand why. I just want to play this slide right here, right now. Maybe I have to isolate this.
I always loved him, and by age 10, I made my decision to become a nun. After high school, I took a convent, took my vows, and for the next 30 years, I was a nun.
We'll do it that
I
way.
did hospital work, handling medical records, switchboard, and then chaplaincy. It was my desire to help people to know God and to love Him and to follow Him all the days of their life. My last 10 years in the convent, I was very restless. I was unsure what God wanted of me. He'd wake me in the middle of the night, and I felt He was telling me to go, because I was lost in church. I knew a lot about God, but I didn't know Him personally. I was in works and not in His Word. Because I left the convent, I was fired from my job as a chaplain of a hospital. I was without work and without spiritual family to belong to and grow with, but this was all part of God's plan. It was a blessing in disguise. I attended a Thursday night Bible study group, and our first study was from Hosea 4:6. My people perish for lack of knowledge. I thought, my goodness, how appropriate. I had a hunger and thirst in my life to know God and to understand the Bible better and to really please Him. I was continuing to grow in Jesus, but something was missing. I received a flyer in the mail advertising studies in Bible prophecy. I thought about going, but didn't go for the first meeting. So then I did go for the 4th and 5th. I loved the message. I learned so much. And then I found what had been missing in my understanding of God, the Sabbath. I even wrote a poem about it. By His word I am healed. By His Sabbath I am sealed.
When Dolores came to the meetings, she was delighted. She loved the Lord, and she wanted to know Him better. When she learned the Sabbath truth, the light came on her eyes. She was a new person in Christ Jesus.
As I continued to study and learn, I embraced God all the more earnestly. I was water baptized on June 10, 2006. I do a lot of walking and talking about Jesus. Some workers were in the street where I was walking. It seemed the pipe had broken, and they had a huge machine where they were digging to repair this pipe. I called out to them a blessing. I said, may God bless the work of your hands. Our help is in the name of the Lord who made heaven and earth. I'm not sure they knew what to say at that point, but I know their day went differently.
So Dolores wrote that song. I'm going to play it for you again. Those of you here this morning, you're going to hear it again. We call it the Dolores song. She wrote a poem, and Nancy Moreski and myself, we worked on that for a couple of days before we baptized her. I had the privilege of water baptizing her. We're going to have a baptism here on the 20th, the night of the 20th, so I want you to think about if you'd like to be baptized or rebaptized, we'll offer that for you. Anyway, she wrote that poem, and then Nancy and I laid it down to music, and here it is.
You